Hello, Vici here. So I spent a year traveling in India. मैं इंडिया के अंदर 1 साल के लिए घूम रहा था. So most of this video will be in English and then अंत में मैं सिर्फ हिंदी में बात करूँगा. If you are interested in India as a Westerner, or perhaps आप इंडियन हैं और आप कुछ एक वेस्टर्नर का एक्सपीरियंसेस इंडिया में के बारे में कुछ पता होना चाहिए तो अंत में सब बात करूँगा, सब एक्सप्लेन करूँगा. So if you're interested in traveling to India and you have a curiosity for this place and you really want to go to India, and by go to India I do not mean you book a plane ticket, get on a plane, arrive on the plane, get off the plane, and now you're in India. That is not what I mean when I say go to India. If you really want to experience India, then I highly recommend you find somewhere comfortable to sit down and listen to my experience, because I've been lucky enough to have this experience as a primarily Westerner going into India and spending such an extended time in a way that is more connected than your white Westerner, because my father is from India, so I have familial connection to the place in addition to my Western upbringing and Western values. So I was able to more effectively go deeper into the culture of India because of that connection, but I still speak the language. I don't just mean English, I mean the cultural language of the white Western countries, Australia, New Zealand, the Commonwealth countries, and to some extent Europe, perhaps. I'm not so sure about the cultural overlap between Europe and the Commonwealth. That's not what I know about. But at least I can speak from my experience, how that has been going in and how that could shape your experience. Perhaps you are a curious white Westerner who wants to go to India and learn about all the beautiful things that India has to offer in terms of food, its people, its culture, its spirituality. There is so much in India and it is a beautiful place. So I would recommend that you find somewhere comfortable to sit, get some tea or whatever it may be, and come along for the journey. I will start with my personal context. I was born in Australia to a white mother and an Indian father. Both my parents worked in Australia and they lived there. They were both citizens. My father took me every year to India. So each summer I would go back to India for 1 month. By the time I was about 20, I knew a few words of my father's native language. I knew of some of the dishes, but I would not say that my connection to culture was very strong. It was not deep, it was not strong, it was not meaningful. It was just my summer. So it was not that much of a big deal to me at the time, but now I realize how lucky I am to have that connection, because when I traveled to India, that familial connection ended up being extremely important and useful to me in understanding India, the place, and the culture and the people. So before I went to India, I was studying at uni and I received 15,000 Australian dollars from my Indian uncle, who was giving away money to all of his family members. And he lives in Canada now, retired. I'm going to see him soon, which will be really beautiful after my experience in India. And so I had enough money to live for a year in India. 15,000 Australian dollars is more than enough to live in a year quite comfortably in India. And I had an open mind, an open heart. All I wanted to do was to just go, learn the language, learn the culture, become Indian. That was my intention. It was to discover the half of me that wasn't really developed, the Indian part of me that wasn't really developed. So the first thing I did was I spent 2 months with my family in India, in the city where most of my immediate family lived. So I had an aunt, an uncle, a few cousins, some extended cousins, and then here is the first difference that India has with the white Western world. I'm going to use the term West throughout this video to describe the cultural entity that is Britain and its colonies, and to some extent Europe. I know personally what Australian culture is because I've grown up in Australia, and having spent some time in Canada and the US, I have some understanding that Commonwealth countries tend to have what British Western culture, and in terms of Western European culture and maybe Eastern European culture, I'm not so sure the extent to which the West also describes them. So bear in mind that when I use the word West, I mean the British colony and its cultural, the British cultural entity from the UK, white UK. So perhaps Western European is also similar. I don't know. I only speak from my experience of Australia's colonization by the UK and my experience of that culture. So when I say West, that is what I mean. So the first difference I found was that family ties in Indian culture, and I will use the term Indian culture throughout this video. There are actually many different cultures within India. It is an extremely diverse place. So Indian culture does vary. There are 16 different official languages in India, some of them completely unrecognizable to the others. So the term India, it does have some sort of distinct identity and culture. However, each place, each state, each town, each house has its own individual subculture. So I use the term Indian culture to mean generally, and I will go into specifics when relevant. So in Indian culture, there are strong family ties and extended family ties. In India, your cousin is your sister. Your second cousin is your brother. Your father's mother's sister's daughter is your aunt. So more distance away from your family doesn't change. So I found, at least in Western contexts, people know their aunts well, their aunts and uncles. They know their grandparents and they know their cousins. That's all. It kind of stops there. They don't know their second cousins. They don't know their parents' cousins. They don't know their parents' second cousins. It's not like this in India. In India, people know their second cousins, maybe even their third cousins sometimes. The family network is very big. And so this creates a much more strong support network because you do not just have one brother, you have 10 brothers. And so now I have the privilege, because I'm part of the Indian family, that wherever I go in the world, there is a brother or a sister. I am here in, where am I? I'm in California, and there are at least 5 family members in just California, and there are who knows how many more family members in the US, and who knows how many more in Canada, and there are some in Australia, not many. So the family network is very big, and it is brother, it is sister, it is beautiful. And so I got to experience that. I met people, and I had to wrap my brain around thinking about relationships, because Indians are so used to thinking about all their huge family network. They're used to it. So, my mother's father's brother's daughter's son's wife. Oh yeah, of course, that's my sister-in-law. They do not need to think too much. It is very simple for them to think through that whole relationship. And in many Indian languages, there are different words to describe differently your aunts and uncles. So in English, we have aunt, which means your parents' sister. But in my family's language, there are different words for aunt. Your father's sister and your mother's sister, there are different words for those two different people. So there is more meaning in how you are related to someone in the culture. So when you are in India and you are traveling and you are meeting Indians, ask about their family, and keep in mind that may well be a lot more important to them than you are used to it being important for you. So when they talk about their cousin or their second cousin or their aunt or their uncle, you can ask, do you mean, when you say uncle, do you mean your mother's brother or your father's brother? Or do you mean your father's cousin. Asking questions like this can show that you have a bit more awareness about their family ties, and they would love to explain to you more about their own family network. So that was one of the things I experienced. Another thing I experienced was trying to learn the language. My family's language is not Hindi. Hindi is the main language used in North India. My family's language is a South Indian language, which is a different family of languages. So India is split into North and into South. In the South, there are 4 main languages. My family speaks Tamil, which is the spoken in the land of Tamil Nadu, which is just next to Sri Lanka. They also speak Tamil in Sri Lanka, but it's a different kind of Tamil. The language was extremely difficult to learn. At the start of this video, you heard me speaking a bit of Hindi. Hindi I found much easier to learn than Tamil. If you are going to India and you have no pre-connection to anyone from India, Hindi is the easiest language to learn. If you have a friend or someone very close to you who is a Tamilian or from Tamil Nadu, if you want to try and learn their language, you will have a very difficult time. The sounds are hard to make, the grammar is really complicated, the way that concepts get put into words is difficult and confusing. There is no similarity to English. It was a struggle. By the end of 2 months, I could barely manage some very basic conversations in Tamil, and when people spoke Tamil, they would have to speak very slowly, very clearly, simple sentences, and then I could barely understand. But I knew enough Tamil to ask for some basic directions and ask something about people's family, say where I'm from, say what I'm doing, say where I'm going. I could do some very basic things. So after 2 months or so, during which time I also learned an Indian dance form, Bharatanatyam. So I spent some time learning the form of dance which is specific to South India, specific to that region. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. It was a bit difficult. It was extremely technical, extremely physically demanding. The dance form is phenomenally huge in terms of its repertoire and capacity, because once all of the basic forms of the dance form are learned, which takes 2 years of dedicated work, then they can start to put pieces together to become creative. What I've experienced in Western dance contexts, it does not take much time to dance freely with flow in Western dance contexts. Going to a music festival and dancing all free and flow with the music and whatnot, this is free flow dancing and it is creative. However, the kind of creativity that I experienced in this Indian dance form, South Indian dance form, it required a basic 2-year rigorous basics, and then you can go into the more creative aspects. And then the more creative aspects are deeply intertwined with the ancient cultural stories. So people would be dancing out and enacting stories from the epics of India, written thousands of years ago. So if you're interested in dance and you want to explore Indian dance, then Bharatanatyam, South Indian dance form, offers some very deep exploration into dance as a way of storytelling, beauty, and frankly, physical exertion. My knees, my legs, it was so physically demanding. To be a Bharatanatyam dancer, you need strong legs. So after these 2 months, I started traveling. I went to the southernmost point of India. At the southernmost point of India, there is a statue of a man who was responsible for bringing a lot of India's wisdom to the West, to America, to UK, and responsible for getting a lot more Western money, shall we say, into India. So he learned a lot about the Indian scriptures, about the Indian science, and science, as the West sees it, is a relatively recent phenomenon of the Age of Enlightenment, the last 400 years or so. But actually, science in India has a much longer history and tradition. It goes back very far. And this man, he took philosophy and science, and then he traveled to the UK and he spoke about having peace with religions. And there is a statue of him at the southernmost tip of India, because when he pilgrimaged around India, he went to the southernmost point, and there is a chamber inside, underneath the statue, a meditation chamber, because it was said that he meditated for 3 days on this rock. He swam out onto a rock just in the open ocean and meditated for 3 days to really soak in his experiences from traveling around India. So that was a very beautiful place to be. I meditated there for some time. From there, I went to Kerala. Kerala is on the southwest coast of India. Kerala is a very popular place for Western tourists to go. It is very progressive. It is in fact the most progressive state in India. It even has transgender bathrooms. It has minimal rates of violence. It has quite a diversity of religions. It has Hindus, Muslims, Christians. The food is soft and beautiful. It is also inexpensive. Kerala was a very soft, beautiful place to be, and its backwaters, very beautiful. In terms of the nature, it has very good nature. So central South India, the border of Kerala and Tamil Nadu, that region has very beautiful nature. Very lush, very green, tea plantations, coffee plantations. In Kerala, I also spent time at a ashram. An ashram is a spiritual place in India. It is a place where people go for spiritual development. So there's one ashram in Kerala that my family, or members of my family, have traditionally gone to seek spiritual development and enlightenment. I went to that ashram, so it was a bit of a family tradition to go there. And at the ashram, they live very simply. The meals are very simple. The drink that they give at lunch was a bit sweet. That was the most amount of pleasure I got from eating the food all day, because it was basic rice, basic lentils, very basic food, very wholesome food. And they had chanting. So they just had chanting, very basic chanting of very basic things for hours on end. There was a quiet garden for meditation. There was a library for books, and that's about it. That's all there was. It was just a quiet, peaceful place. They had some cows. You could go and give the cows bananas if you wanted to. I spent a week there, and I was in the routine. It was the same thing every day. It was a place to just look inward, be with yourself, and go along with the chanting, which brings you closer to realizing spiritual oneness with yourself, with the world. So if you want to have a spiritual experience in India, you can also go to an ashram. Some ashrams are geared more towards Westerners than others. The ashram I went to was not geared towards Westerners. When you go to a website, perhaps you are thinking, I want to go to an ashram in India. I want to learn about spirituality. If you look up ashrams in India, if the website looks like it is really nicely done, then it's probably geared towards Westerners. If the website looks like a half-baked thing with bad formatting, it's probably not geared towards Westerners. So if you want a cushioned experience, then you can go to the more westernized ashram. At the more westernized ashram, you will have experiences more like what you are expecting to have. So if you are expecting certain kinds of meditation or certain kinds of yoga or certain kinds of activities, these ashrams will cater more towards those experiences that you are expecting. But the ashrams that are not geared towards Westerners, you will not really understand what the point of a lot of the stuff they do is, because they're not trying to explain it to you. They are just doing it. So you can join in and you can ask people questions. They will be friendly. People in India are quite friendly, and most of them speak English. So wherever you are in India, as long as you are not in a rural village, there will be someone you can see who can speak English. So people were friendly. There were a few Westerners at my ashram. There was one Westerner who had been there for 7 years. They had been there for years. That person told me, ashrams are for weak people. What she meant was that spending a lot of your life in spiritual development can be a way of not confronting the material problems that you have. And so she considered herself weak. She just stayed at the ashram, volunteered for food, had no life other than just being at the ashram. And that's what she chose to do. And her perspective is that people who face the world are facing the world. My perspective is that balance is necessary. One way to avoid the world is to dive into spirituality. Another way to avoid spirituality is to dive into the material world and to distract oneself from one's spiritual path. I think there is a balance between developing material and spiritual. In fact, when done properly, they're experienced as non-duality, so there will be no differentiation between the material and the spiritual when there is enough wisdom in their direction and intention. But if you would like to experience spirituality and you have not experienced any of it, then go to an ashram and spend time there. Don't go for 3 days, go for a week, go for a month. Generally, the longer you spend going to a spiritual place, the more you will start to realize what it means to be spiritual. So after spending some time at the ashram, I went to Goa. Goa is a small state just north of Kerala, on the west coast of India, in the middle. Goa has an interesting history because it was colonized by the Portuguese in 1500, and its culture today is a combination of the original Goan culture and Portuguese culture. And I experienced Goa as a very intense place. It was very intense, but also very relaxing. Some parts of Goa were very relaxing. So it was interesting. It had an interesting history. The food was very good. The beaches were superb. I am not a beach person in the sense that I don't say, let's go to the beach. I'm not a person who says that. And when I'm at a beach, I'm not a person who says, oh, I love being at the beach. But when I was at the Goan beaches, I thought, wow, this is a good beach. I like being at this beach. So if you like beaches, you do not want to miss Goa. However, keep in mind that it can be crowded depending on when you go. If you go between October and March, which is the holiday season in India, then, there is a ladybug on my face. When you are going in the holiday season, it may be quite crowded. So keep this in mind when you are going. If you go in off season, it may be hot. So it can be very beautiful if you are there when there are not many other people. North of Goa, I went to Mumbai. I had some family in Mumbai. Mumbai is the economic hub of India. It's where actors go. It is where finance people go. Mumbai is the happening place. If you are an aspiring person in India and you are aspiring and you are hustle, you go to Mumbai. My family is there, or some of my family. And drawing back to what I said earlier, my father's elder brother's sons, 2 children live in Mumbai. So I stayed with them. That is the family connection there. And they tell me that they like the hustle, they like the bustle. That's what Mumbai is all about. Mumbai is in the state of Maharashtra. Maharashtra has really beautiful nature. If you go there to India during the monsoon, then that area will be very lush. Or if you go after the monsoon, that area will be very lush. The monsoon is another thing to keep in mind when traveling in India. The monsoon, there are two monsoons, and climate change may also play a role in affecting the regularity of these monsoons. So before you go to India, make sure that you're getting the monsoon timing right. Because what ended up happening when I was in India is I adjusted my travels to avoid the worst weather. So keep in mind that if you're thinking of going to India, the monsoon may exist and you'll have to go at the correct time so that you are not drowned by the monsoon. Unless you go somewhere that it is good to go in the monsoon. So there are some places in India that are good to go in the monsoon because it is very green and lush and the water is giving all of the plants and the trees lots of life. After Mumbai, I went to Nepal. Why did I go to Nepal? There was a man who I'd met in Australia, a white guy from the US. And I met him in Australia. I met him again in India, in one place. And then again, another place in India. And then I thought, okay, well, both of us, we seem to be meeting each other randomly in different parts of the world. So he told me he was going to a hippie gathering. So I went to this hippie gathering in Nepal, and at this hippie gathering, I heard of a meditation retreat. This meditation retreat was 8 days long. It was in Dharamkot. Dharamkot is just north of Dharamshala. Dharamshala is where the Dalai Lama lives. It is near the Tibetan border. So where China meets India, there is Nepal, but just to the left of that, where Tibet or China, Tibet meets India, that is near where the Dalai Lama lives currently, in Dharamshala. So there was this 8-day meditation course. I had wanted to do a 10-day meditation course, a Vipassana. I had never done a Vipassana. I wanted to do a Vipassana in India. A Vipassana is a 10-day meditation course. 10 days of 12 hours a day of silence, meditation, no communication with anyone, no eye contact. Only 1 hour of the teacher talking each day. This was a bit intense. It probably sounds intense. So I thought this 8-day one is a gentle introduction. There was only 3 hours of meditation each day, and you were allowed to talk with other people during a time for discussion. So there was a discussion time where you discuss the discourses and they talk about the discourses. You can ask questions. Oh, what does Buddhism say about this? I'm having this struggle in my life. How does your Buddhist teaching relate to me in relieving the suffering in my life? So I thought this is a good introduction. So I left Nepal and then I went to this meditation course for 8 days. And it was very peaceful. By the end of that, I felt very, very relaxed, very open, very happy. That meditation course was beautiful. And then I found myself in a room. I was with the American guy, and I was with a few other Europeans there, and it occurred to me, what am I doing? I'm here with Europeans smoking weed, playing guitar. This is the exact same thing I was doing in Australia. In Australia, I've been part of many creative communities, and these creative communities, we sit in circles. Usually it's white people and sometimes Indians and people from Europe and South America. Usually no Asians, no Chinese, no Vietnamese, occasionally an Indian, no people from the African continent, no people from the Middle East. And it occurred to me while I was in this kind of free, open state after the meditation, what am I doing? I came to India to explore India, and here I am doing the same thing as I was doing in my white Western context in Australia. So here is an important lesson. If you are a white Westerner and you want to explore the real India, and in India you find yourself hanging out with Westerners and not talking to Indians, you are not experiencing the real India. The real India means forming relationships with Indians. It means not talking with Westerners. It means talking with Indians. So when I realized this, I went straight back to my family. And I thought, okay, I'm going to spend the next 2 months just learning Hindi. So that's what I did. I spent 8 hours a day learning Hindi. I was watching movies without subtitles. I paid for Hindi teachers. I was reading children's books. I was watching children's cartoons. I was writing down exercises every day. I was just learning Hindi word after Hindi word, grammar after grammar. I was focusing so hard. Because the next chapter in my journey was to volunteer with an organization. I was planning on going to Rajasthan. Rajasthan is also a popular destination for Westerners to go in India. Rajasthan is in the northwest of India. The northwest of India, right next to Pakistan. So Rajasthan borders Pakistan. So in Rajasthan, there is this organization that teaches maths and English to underprivileged people. And I was going to volunteer there. And I was talking with the founder, and I said to the founder, do you think it would be useful for me to know Hindi? And he said, yes. So I thought, okay, I'm about to go into this new situation and teach English and maths to underprivileged people in Rajasthan, which is one of the poorest states of India. Rajasthan, as opposed to Kerala, is not progressive. Rajasthan is conservative, so it's more traditional. If you want to experience a contrast in India, go to Rajasthan and Kerala. They are very different places. They're both Indian, but they speak different languages. The colors are different. Rajasthan is very red. It is very bright. Kerala is a bit more toned down. Kerala is more green. Rajasthan is desert. Rajasthan is fiery. Rajasthan is traditional gender roles. Kerala is progressive. Kerala is soft. Kerala is artistic. Rajasthan is also artistic, but rustic artistic. It is croakier. It is croakier. Kerala is smoother. It is softer. So Rajasthan has very fiery food. Kerala food is much softer. Kerala food is coconuts. It is coconut curry. It is a tamarind mint chutney. Rajasthan is fire. Rajasthan is oil. Rajasthan is spice. So there is an interesting comparison in culture between those two places. So then I really started to dive deep into Hindi and started to get a bit of a grasp. And then I went straight to Rajasthan. I saw my Indian girlfriend along the way. I met someone. We had a bit of a romance. It was beautiful. And in Rajasthan, I taught maths and English at the schools. This was tough. This was really tough. But it was so enlightening. The founder of this organization is the most inspiring person I've ever met. He started in a small village, a small rural village, and he's built up a phenomenally beautiful organization in Rajasthan that fights for the rights of minorities in that area, that fights for the education of these minorities. And I was privileged enough to take part in that education. This ring was gifted to me by the students of that organization when I left. It is real silver. If you are considering going to India, volunteering for an organization can be one of the most profound, eye-opening experiences you can have, because it gives you access to such a different place. It is one thing to walk in a place and look around and maybe eat its food, but to experience a place, the same place, day after day, to see all of the little cultural nuances that happen, to see how people are and how they live their lives day to day, the same people, the friends that you make. Volunteering was a beautiful experience. I highly recommend that if you're going to travel, not just to India, but anywhere really, to choose one place, to choose one organization and just volunteer there. Do your research well. Talk to the founder of the organization. Find out something you're interested in and talk to the founder and spend 3 months there. I spent 3 months. At least a month. If you go for a week, you're not going to really taste the place. It's going to take time to taste the place. The longer you stay there, the more deeply you will taste it. The founder took us to his home in the village. We got to see the village people. We got to see rituals. We got to learn, we, the volunteers, got to learn about the cultural, social background of where he is from, the founder. And it is easy to teach English or what it may be. If you are fluent in a language and teaching it is relatively straightforward. Some people are better teachers than others. But to come from where he has from and to teach English is absolutely mind-blowing, because where he is from is so deeply conservative, deeply resistant to change. Now, this is not to judge that culture. Conservatism is a good thing when the world is static, when the world does not change year to year, generation to generation, aeon to aeon. Conservatism is wisdom. But when the world changes, when things are changing, conservatism may not be the way forward. So I got to experience conservatism in a very nuanced, local way, and I got to see the experiences and be there for the struggles and the conflicts. And that was eye-opening and made my Western upbringing look like a joke compared to the struggles and the lives of these people here. The kind of oppression that exists in some of these places may need to be seen to be believed. It is one thing to know or to think or to believe, oh yes, there is a poor country over there, and oh yes, they are having tough lives. But to see it in front of my face and to see people I am there trying to help them learn English and maths, and to see how their lives are affecting their ability to learn, it touched me in a way that simply learning about it secondhand could not have done. So if you're interested in having a perhaps challenging experience, but deeply rewarding and meaningful, then consider volunteering somewhere. And when volunteering, it is extremely important to be mindful, because there may be things that you do culturally that are not appreciated by the place that you're in, and you may believe that you have the right to enforce your own culture to do whatever you want in the place, but that may not be interpreted the way that you may be intending it to be interpreted. For example, one of the things in conservative India that's important to do is to not expose too much skin, especially and particularly for women. It's deeply patriarchal in the sense that it's much more socially acceptable there for men to expose skin, but for women to expose skin is not acceptable. And so the female volunteers were requested to wear the traditional clothing that the women of that area wear, and to make sure that their skin is covered. Some of the volunteers were less happy with this than others, because from a Western perspective, it is an impingement on freedom. The Western perspective would say, of course, wear less clothes. It is freedom. It is my right to express and be free and not to have to cover up. And in a Western context, this is true, I believe. In the Western context, people, and women especially, have the right to express and to be open and to have the right to be free of fear of people doing things to them. But in this conservative Indian context, the kind of harm that it can cause by too quickly trying to be progressive may far outweigh the alleged or intended benefits of doing that. So if you are going to travel in India, if you are a woman, unfortunately, if you want to be respectful, then wear clothes that are modest. Men too, of course, do not just show your skin. That is not polite. So if you're interested in being respectful, that is something you can do. Some women I saw traveling in India were not so respectful of this, and they wouldn't know. You wouldn't see the downsides of this, because what happens is when people see those Westerners, it reinforces bad ideas that they have. A lot of the people in India, especially the poor, particularly the poorer ones, particularly the poorer men, when they have not, the only context in which they have seen white women is porn, which is really sad, but it's how it is. So it does not help to further or allow them to continue to do that. It sounds like victim blaming, but this is just what happens. So I had friends at the volunteering. It was a divide. Some of the volunteers were meticulous about making sure they were wearing the clothes, even if they were a bit uncomfortable, and making sure they're respectful of not offending sensibilities. Other women at the volunteering were less so. As a man who you could argue it's not my place to talk about it, but I'm also speaking for the women who advocate for what I'm advocating for, because I'm only myself. And of course it is a safety thing as well, which comes to another important point: safety in traveling in India. If you are a large male, then you are probably quite safe. If you are a small white woman, you are a bit less safe. Compared to other places to travel, from what I've heard, India is much safer. If you are alone at night in somewhere where they don't speak English, it's not that unsafe, but it can be unsafe. Public displays of affection are unsafe. If you are engaging in public displays of affection, that is generally not tolerated, especially in the more conservative parts of India like Rajasthan, and is not really accepted. The younger generations in more progressive places in India are totally fine with PDA. In fact, they probably want to do it and say it's a good thing. But in some of the more conservative places of India, engaging in public displays of affection can be, at best, looked down upon. At worst, the woman gets raped and the guy gets killed. So I would not engage in public displays of affection. If you are going with a partner, then do not be too touchy and too lovey-dovey with your partner in public. And it's also, especially in more conservative parts, expected that you're going to be married. Because, and this is another difference between Western and Indian context, there is a lot more casual relationships in the West, and that's much more normalized. In India, there are casual relationships, but it tends to be among younger, more progressive, more westernized, more educated Indians. The more older conservative Indians do not really understand casual relationships, and if you are a woman and you are with a man, or you are a man and you are with a woman, it is expected that you are either siblings or you are married. That you are friends and traveling just by yourself, it makes less sense. So be expected that if you go to a conservative part of India, expect people to ask if you are married, if you are a man and a woman together, and expect that they will be confused if you try and explain to them that no, we are just friends. So often with the volunteers, because the volunteers, it was me, it was some women, and less men. There was one other man and a few more women. We usually had some story of, oh, this is my wife and this is her sisters, or something like this. We just made up a story because it was easier. Trying to tell them the truth that, oh, we're friends traveling together, or that, oh, we are volunteering together, they won't understand this concept. If you tell them that you are married, it will just be easier. Or you tell them that you are siblings, it will be easier. So I'm coming up towards the end of my 1 year. So after the 3 months of volunteering, I went for a hike. I went with this hiking company called India Hikes. If you like hiking, or you like being outdoors in nature, and you want to get a better taste of India, go for a hike with India Hikes, the company. When I went for my hike, I was the only Westerner. Everyone else was from Indian. The guides spoke English mostly, but the local guides spoke only Hindi. So it was a really good mix of, they speak enough English, and the India Hikes administration is in English, so you will understand it if you speak English, but it's still geared for Indians. So you will meet educated English-speaking Indians. So if you want to learn about Indians and you like nature, I highly recommend going for a hike with India Hikes. The company also is very good. They make sure you're in good health. You have to go through a kind of screening, and not interview, but they have to believe that you're prepared for the hike, and so you have to do some preparation so you're fit enough. And they prepare you really well. They explain everything. They carry your bags if your bags are too heavy for you to carry. They've organized it, but they also give you a chance to do your own thing. So they encourage people to make leadership roles and to designate someone to check that there are no tents there, and they designate someone else to check in with everyone and make sure everyone's doing okay. So if you want to hike and you also want to get to know Indians and make Indian friends, go for a hike with India Hikes. After my hike, I was approaching the end of my time in India. I was running out of money and the year was nearly up. I had initially planned to also go to Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, but I just loved India too much. It was just too good. I thought, why leave? So I spent a bit of final time in India, saying goodbye, wrapping up my things. I did a Vipassana. I finally did a Vipassana at the end of my time. The 10-day meditation. It was a beautiful way to finish up my year in India. And someone I had met on my travels, she, an American, who loves India, she also did the Vipassana with me, and I traveled with her for a month in India. It took me a long time to leave India. Really, I started leaving India when I started my Vipassana. 1 month later was my actual flight. It took me that whole month, if not longer, to really leave India. It was so powerful a place, and I had felt myself become so beautifully a part of it, that it took a month of crying and pain and heartbreak to realize the reality that I had to go back to Australia. I had to leave India. I had to go back to my home base, which is Australia. That was sad, deeply sad. I am still sad because I cannot go back to India. I cannot go back, and that makes me so sad. I need a career. I need a life. I need money. And I'm privileged enough to be from Australia, so I can do that in Australia or another Commonwealth country. I can make a career for myself, but I cannot live in India. And so for the rest of my life now, I have to live either being in India or not being in India. And that's really hard to live with, because the beauty I experience there is something that can never leave me. And now I can, even a little bit, start to say that India is where I am from. And it's such a privilege to be able to say that India is where I'm from. and it saddens me so deeply that I cannot stay there. I could stay there, but I have not set myself up to stay there. Not yet. I have to be in a Western country, because in a Western country I can survive quite easily. It's not that hard to survive in a Western country. If you've watched this far in the video, I appreciate that you've stayed this long, and I really hope that you're able to find what you want in India. There are a few final points I have to make, which is about the hygiene. People say India is dirty. It is. It's quite dirty. Some people's immune systems are better than others. For me personally, I only got sick 3 times. Once was as soon as I arrived, because my family fed me with food that was intentionally dirty. There is some local fast food, and the local fast food was infamous for making people sick. So they gave me that food to make my immune system strong. The second time was in Nepal, and it was some gastrointestinal issue. I think it was the cow's poo infected the water or supply or something like this, and we were not filtering it. But I was not even in India. I was in the mountains in Nepal, and with a group of hippies. So I'm not sure how much that counts. And then I got dengue fever. A mosquito bit me, and I had to go to the hospital. So if you are traveling to India, do not forget your mosquito repellent. But actually, you can buy mosquito repellent in India. Odomos, O-D-O-M-O-S, Odomos. That is the brand of mosquito repellent to get. It's a cream. It does not irritate my skin. I would recommend bringing your own mosquito repellent just in case, but then buy Odomos because it's cheaper and it's adapted for the local environment to ward off the local mosquitoes. So try not to get bitten by mosquitoes. Make sure you have your dengue fever. Make sure you have as many of the vaccinations that you have access to. Malaria, think about what you're going to do with malaria. Either take tablets. It depends how long you are staying. It's healthier and better for you to do things that do not require putting chemicals on your skin, such as, for example, wearing clothes that cover you. So that's another reason to wear clothes, is to wear clothes that cover you so that mosquitoes don't bite you. Black clothes will attract mosquitoes at night, so don't wear black clothes. Wear light-colored clothing so the mosquitoes don't get attracted. And make sure you're vaccinated. And mosquito nets, when you sleep, make sure there is a mosquito net. Make sure the mosquito net is tucked under the bed properly. Make sure there are no holes in the mosquito net. Or if you're in a room, make sure the doors are closed and sealed. It's not likely that a mosquito will give you a disease, but if a mosquito gives you a disease, it can be very bad. I had to go to the hospital for maybe a day or two. My friend, she had to go to the hospital for a week. She had a very bad case of dengue fever. So with dengue fever, if you get it once, it's okay, probably. But every time you get it after that, your chances of bad is worse. So now that I've had dengue fever once, if I get dengue fever again, is a much higher chance that I'm going to have internal bleeding and hemorrhaging, big problems inside my body. So I have to be much more careful. So I would recommend try not to get bitten by mosquitoes. And in terms of the food and the hygiene of eating the food, don't eat fresh food. If you get a plate at a restaurant, do not eat the fresh salad. The fresh salad will make you sick. Do not eat cold things. Do not eat things like yogurt and cold milk. Do not eat things that are cold are not safe. If you're going to a place that there are a lot of tourists and it looks like a really Western restaurant, it's probably safer to eat the cold things, but I wouldn't rely on that. Hot food is safe. If it's hot, if it's cooked, it's safe. Make sure you wash your hands, of course, before and after you eat. The water, do not drink the tap water. Do not drink it. If you drink the tap water, you will get sick. There are some places where the tap water even tastes like it will make you sick. Do not drink the tap water. There's several solutions to this. You can get a water filter, and then you'll be fine, or boil the water. So either water filter or boil the water, or you can get the tablets and put the tablets in water. You can buy water bottles, but then you are producing plastic waste, and littering in India is a huge problem. Everywhere you go in India, rubbish everywhere. So much rubbish. You do not want to contribute to that problem, make it worse. Do not buy plastic. Do not buy stuff that comes in packaging, because you will just make the problem worse. Unfortunately, sometimes you can't avoid it. You have to buy a water bottle, but do your best to bring either the tablets, the chlorine tablets that dissolve in water, or a filter, like a smart filter that you can tie on and drink, that you can screw on and drink from the bottle, or boil the water. Easiest is just boil the water. You get used to it. It's usually not a problem once you get used to that. And another thing you'll need to do is electrolytes. India is hot and sweaty. If you're from a part of the world that's not very hot, you will find India hot. I was in India in the middle of summer. I went to Delhi when it was 54 degrees Celsius. 54 degrees Celsius. You will need electrolytes. I'm from Australia, so I'm quite used to the heat. So for me, it wasn't a big problem. It gets to 40 degrees in the summer where I am from. So it's not a big problem for me. But depending on what your body is used to, it may be hot. It's also humid. It's not dry heat, it's wet heat. So it's sticky. It's very sticky. You might find yourself getting sticky. If you go during winter time, around December, January, it's manageable. It's okay. But you still need electrolytes. They sell electrolytes at every pharmacy. Electrol. These white sachets with a green stripe in the middle, it says Electrol. Personally, I love these. Some people don't like them, but I love them. In 1 liter of water, great electrolytes. So things like electrolytes, mosquito repellent, you can buy locally. You don't need to bring them with you. They're very cheap as well. Most of the medical needs you'll have will be at pharmacies locally. There are pharmacies everywhere in India. So things like electrolytes, basic Panadol, paracetamol, they're pretty good everywhere in India. You can find them most places. In terms of finding places to stay, it depends what your standard of having a place to stay is. You can always get an expensive hotel if you want, but there are hostels. It depends where you go. Some places there are hostels, some places there are no hostels. It might be worth trying to make friends with Indians, because then if they are open to it, if they are willing, and if you are nice and good to be around and respectful, then they may well invite you back to stay with them at their house. And then you can visit them where they are staying. If you are lucky enough to have an Indian invite you to come and see them, I highly recommend doing so. They really appreciate when you come back to see them, because most Westerners who come through and say hi don't. So I went and visited one of my Indian friends, and he said to me, I really appreciate that you came and visited me, because everyone else I met, they just left. So it is really meaningful when you visit people a second time. Something else important is that India is loud. Loud. Ear-piercingly loud. The streets are loud. Honks, cars honks, buses honks in particular. Bus honks are so loud. Music, generally when they have a speaker and there is music or there is something playing or someone on a microphone, it's very loud. So I had a pair of earplugs. I used them every single day. I highly recommend buying and having a really nice pair of earplugs that are comfortable. They don't fall out. They fit in your ears. They block sound enough to make the super loud things less loud. I use the brand called Earpiece, E-A-R as in ear, piece, P-E-A-C-E, Earpiece. It comes with 3 earplugs in a little metal thing that you can clip onto something. I had this in my pocket at all times because as soon as I come near a street or near a speaker, I just put them in, and then it is so much more comfortable and you will not damage your hearing. If you are thinking about whether or not to learn the language, it's probably not worth it unless you are staying for an extended period of time. If you are planning on volunteering for an organization, perhaps you are teaching English or helping out in some other way, it probably is worth learning the language. If you are going for a short time, it's probably not worth learning the language. Generally, I would say traveling anywhere for a short time is not worth it. The longer you stay in one place, the more worth it becomes. The final thing I think I'll talk about is the last place I visited before I left. On the map, it's called Varanasi. When you look at it on Google Maps, it says Varanasi, at least if your phone is in English. The place is not actually called Varanasi, but perhaps you go there yourself and find out what it is called. That is the most spiritual place I ever experienced in India. I went there on my own. I would not recommend going there on your own unless you are used to having really intense solar experiences. Varanasi is not for everyone. It is not for the faint of heart. It is a very intense place. If you are open-minded and you have an open heart and you are willing to not judge and take things as they come, then you'll be okay in Varanasi. But if not, you may really struggle in Varanasi. In Varanasi, they burn people. There is a shore on the banks of the most famous river in India, and on this shore, they burn people. They burn dead people. They do not kill them. People come there to die. People live in Varanasi for years before they think they're going to die, and then they die, and then they are burnt, and then they return to the river. It's part of the cultural circle that they are going through. It's part of the religion, the Hindu religion. Varanasi can be a very intense place. There are very spiritual things happening there. I speak a bit of Hindi. I also speak a little bit of Tamil, which is my parents' language. I had also spent at that point about 10.5 months in India, actively trying to be in India. Varanasi was almost too much for me. And I consider myself someone who jumps into things. And so if you would like to go to Varanasi and you would like an intense experience that might be transformative, don't book a return ticket. But if you want to just visit Varanasi, go for 2 days. It is intense because the energy of the place, the people, it is deep, it is spiritual, it is... Ladybugs are biting me. It is deep, it is spiritual, it is old, it is a really old place. And when you go there, you can feel that it is old. Their way of life is very deep. They have a very deep way of life. So there are people chanting things, and you don't know what the chants mean because you are a Westerner with no understanding of the religion, the culture. I heard chanting. I didn't know what the chanting means. It was terrifying. So Varanasi can be very interesting. Watching people die, watching people be burnt rather, it is challenging. Being out at night in Varanasi can be an intense experience because at night the energy becomes very interesting. There are some very spiritual people there. There are these people called agoras. They are covered in white and they are said to eat the dead. So it can be spiritually very interesting and intense, but profound as well. I had one of my most profound experiences in India, in Varanasi. There is a temple in Varanasi. If you would like to know that temple, you will have to go to Varanasi and you will have to ask people and find out where the temple is. You will not be let in. I was not let in. After spending 11 months in India, and I have an Indian name, and my father is from India, I was not let in. I was not enough part of the culture to be allowed in. So that temple, you will only hear of that temple. You will only see it. You will not even see it from the outside. It is because it is behind streets and locked behind somewhere, layered behind, hidden. So you will not see that temple. But perhaps you will learn of it. You will learn what people are there for. People do not come to Varanasi. They come to this temple and they come there to die. And of course, if you go to India with a lot of money and you don't know how to say no, you're going to leave with a lot less money. You will be harassed by people. If you don't know how to say no to people, you will learn how to say no to people or else lose all of your money. There will be people coming up to you saying, oh, buy this, buy this, buy this, buy this, have this experience, have this experience. And actually, sometimes it's quite good. The random guy on the side of the street looks a bit like he's homeless, but the massage he gives, my ears got cracked. He was able to crack my ears. So some of the people there are very skilled. They have some very good food, good drink, good experiences to offer. But if you say yes to all of them, you'll lose all your money. I found Varanasi was particularly bad. Even after spending so much time in India, in Varanasi, it was hard to hold on to my money. I could feel the environment trying to take the money from me. It was very strong. Saying no was hard. In terms of cost of living in India, I will talk in Australian dollars because that's what I know and what I'm used to. You can survive on 10 Australian dollars a day in India. Not easily. It would be pretty hard, pretty difficult, but you can do it on $10 a day. $30 a day, comfortable. $30 a day, you can have quite a comfortable travel in India, go where you want, get places to stay, relatively little stress. No luxury, but no stress. At least for someone like me. If you want to go, if you need a bit more comfort, you need a bit more certainty, more reliability, then you're looking at maybe 45, 50 Australian dollars a day of travel in India. If you want luxury in India, 60 Australian dollars a day is more than you need. At that point, it is luxury. So backpacking, if you're a backpacker, what people call a backpacker, 30 Australian dollars is more than enough, is enough. You do not need more than 30 Australian dollars a day to survive in India. In terms of sightseeing, the most popular thing that people do is the Golden Triangle. It is Jaipur, Delhi, and Agra are the most common things. Agra is where the Taj Mahal is. Delhi is, of course, the capital of India. Jaipur is also a very nice place to be. Jaipur, Delhi, Agra. If you like sightseeing, you can go to these cities. They're very well geared to tourists, as long as you can bargain properly, and they will expect bargaining. When you are trying to travel around, you should bargain, but don't bargain so hard as to be disrespectful. So they offer whatever they're offering for 500 rupees. Say, no, 250. and then don't budge on 250. Just say 250, and then if they don't say no, walk away. And once you start walking away, you have the power. So you can do it for a lot less money. Bargain. Don't bargain them completely down though. Don't say 100 rupees. That's probably disrespectful. 250 is enough. Think about your budget. And that's the most popular tourist area: Delhi, Agra, Jaipur, Varanasi. Rajasthan is very popular. People then often fly down to Kerala and explore Kerala. I hope you have found this video informative. Thanks for sticking it out if you've stuck it out this long. There's a lot to explore. It will be intense. It'll be smelly, it'll be noisy, it'll be culturally overwhelming, but it's also intensely beautiful. Intensely beautiful. And it's been a part of my heart forever. तो अभी मैं सिर्फ हिंदी में बात करूँगा। तो पहले बचपन से तो मेरा नाम वीची है, और मैं हिंदी, मुझे कुछ हिंदी आता है। बचपन से मैं ऑस्ट्रेलिया में रहता था। मेरे बाप इंडिया से है, लेकिन तमिलनाडु से है। तो मेरे बाप को हिंदी नहीं आता है, कुछ थोड़ा हिंदी आता है, लेकिन घर में हम सिर्फ थोड़ा तमिल बात कर रहे थे। तो बचपन में थोड़ा तमिल आता था, थोड़ा तमिल 50 शब्द, मुझे 50 शब्द आता था। पानी आ जाओ, ऐसे मत, ऐसे आता था। तो इससे ज़्यादा आता नहीं था। तो पिछले साल 2 साल के बाद मेरा अंकल मतलब बाप का भाई, मेरे बाप का भाई, वो इनके पास ज़्यादा पैसा है, तो मुझे थोड़ा पैसा दो। सो इस पैसा के लिए मैं ऑस्ट्रेलिया रहने वक्त मैं सोचता था कि क्या करना, स्टडीज़ ख़त्म हुआ, कॉलेज ख़त्म हुआ, क्या करना। तो इस पैसा से शायद इंडिया, मेरे बाप इंडिया से है, तो अभी मेरे पास थोड़ा पैसा है, तो क्यों नहीं इंडिया में घूमना। तो सिर्फ मैं फिर मैं इंडिया आया, मैंने इंडिया गया। तो पहले मैं अपना रिश्तेदार के साथ रहता था, रिश्तेदार के साथ रहता था, और कुछ तमिल सीख रहा था। तब हिंदी नहीं, सिर्फ तमिल, थोड़ा तमिल सीख रहा था। फिर 2-3 महीने के बाद केरला घूमने वक्त मैं थोड़ा हिंदी, ड्यूओलिंगो पता है, ड्यूओलिंगो में थोड़ा हिंदी शुरू सीख रहा था। मुझे बचपन से मुझे संस्कृत आता था। स्कूल में मैं संस्कृत सीख रहा था बचपन से, सिर्फ बचपन में। तो मुझे देवनागरी आता था। तो मैं देख कर सकता था देवनागरी, भा, फा, मा, ठा, आ, ऊ, ऐसे, लेकिन समझ में नहीं, कुछ नहीं समझ में नहीं, सब भूल गया, सब संस्कृत भूल गया। तो मुझे तो तब शायद घूमने वक्त 4-5 महीने के बाद, शुरू से 4 महीने मैं सोचता था वॉलंटियरिंग करना चाहिए, मुझे वॉलंटियरिंग करना चाहिए। वॉलंटियरिंग मतलब स्कूल में पढ़ाना चाहिए कुछ इंग्लिश और मैथ्स। मुझे काफ़ी इंग्लिश और मैथ्स आता था। तो स्कूल में थोड़ा हाँ कुछ चाहिए पढ़ाना तो थोड़ा मैथ थोड़ा इंग्लिश पढ़ाना बच्चे को। तो इसके पहले मैं सोचता था शायद हिंदी ज़रूर है, शायद हिंदी बहुत ज़रूर है। तो मैं हिंदी सीखना मैंने शुरू किया हिंदी सीखना। तो 1-2 महीने के लिए मैं सिर्फ हिंदी रिश्तेदार का घर रहता था, रिश्तेदार का घर। तो काम ज़रूर नहीं है, पैसा मेरे पास थोड़ा पैसा है अंकल के वजह से। तो मैं हिंदी 2 महीने के लिए तो आज मतलब नहीं रोज़ हिंदी सीखता था। दिन में 8 घंटे 8, 9, 10 घंटे मूवीज़ देख रहा था, टीचर्स से सीख रहा था, बुक्स देख रहा था। तो मैं बहुत कोशिश कर रहा था। फिर 2 महीने के बाद मतलब पहले तो पहले अभी बाद में तो 2 महीने के बाद मैंने एक स्कूल को गया। स्कूल में एक इंडिया राजस्थान में एक स्कूल है। तो इस स्कूल के अंदर मैं इंग्लिश और मैथ्स सिखा रहा था बच्चे को। तो मैं थोड़ा हिंदी में सिखा रहा था, मैथ्स हिंदी में सिखा रहा था और इंग्लिश में सिखा रहा था। और दूसरे लोगों को से बहुत हिंदी में बात कर सकता था। तो मुझे बहुत खुशी हुई ऐसे आपका भाषा से हिंदी मुझे बहुत खुशी हुई और दूसरे लोगों को बहुत खुशी हुई मेरी बात के वजह से। क्योंकि मैं इसके पहले मुझे कुछ नहीं हिंदी आता था। तो घूमने के पहले मुझे कुछ नहीं हिंदी आता था। तो इतना कम टाइम के अंदर इतना हिंदी सीखा, बहुत अच्छा किया मैंने सोचता था कि ये हिंदी सीखने के वजह से मुझे बहुत खुशी हुई। और इंडिया का लोगों से अभी थोड़ा समझ कर सकता है, मुझे थोड़ा इंडिया का लोग समझ कर सकते हैं। तो इस टीचिंग के बाद पढ़ाना के बाद मुझे बनारस को गया, मुझे उत्तराखंड को गया, फिर मैं फिर चेन्नई को गया, फिर अपना देश को वापस आया। तो मैंने ऑस्ट्रेलिया को वापस आया, फिर घूमना ख़त्म हुआ। फिर अभी मैं थोड़ा काम करता हूँ, थोड़ा कनाडा और यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स में थोड़ा घूमता था। तो मुझे नहीं पता कि दूसरे बार को इंडिया को वापस आना, मुझे वापस आना चाहिए, लेकिन काफ़ी पैसा नहीं है और मुझे नौकरी मिल गया, मुझे नौकरी मिलना है। अब मेरे पास अच्छा नौकरी नहीं है, तो पहले मुझे अच्छा नौकरी मिलना, फिर अच्छी नौकरी मिलने के बाद फिर वापस आ जाऊंगा इंडिया को। इंडिया मेरे दिल के अंदर रहती है। तो अच्छा रहना आप लोग, और शायद आप आप गोरा का लोग, गोरा का लोग आपका लोग ज़्यादा नहीं है, जैसे आप वैसे गोरा का लोग अलग अलग है, अलग देश है, अलग सोचना, अलग दिमाग, हम समझना कोशिश अच्छा समझना, क्योंकि इंडिया बहुत सुंदर है और शायद दिखाओ गोरा का लोग कि इतना अच्छा सुंदर इंडिया है, तो और अच्छा इंग्लिश सीखना चाहिए आपको अच्छा इंग्लिश कोशिश अच्छा इंग्लिश सीखना चाहिए, क्योंकि इस इंग्लिश से आप गोरा का लोग अच्छा से बात कर सकते हैं। तो खुश रहना, और मैं वीची हूँ, और अच्छा दिन।